The king's scream still echoes in my mind even after all these years. His voice, once so commanding, turned into a desperate, animal-like cry as the darkness swallowed him whole. It was many years ago, in the small village of Mabuyu, where I lived. We were simple people, and we didn't have much, but we were happy. Our king, King Akoto, was not like us. He was rich beyond measure, and yet, he always wanted more. King Akoto's greed was known far and wide. He took from us, his people, more than we could give. Every season, his soldiers would come to our village and demand more food, more gold, more of everything we had. If we did not comply, they would take it by force. Many of us went hungry. While the king's palace overflowed with wealth, one night, the king heard of a hidden treasure deep within the forest, a place said to be cursed, where the spirits of the ancestors guarded riches beyond imagination. But the king did not fear spirits. He did not believe in the tales of our ancestors. All he saw was the promise of more wealth. He ordered his men to prepare for the journey, but no one wanted to go. The stories of the cursed forest were well known. It was said that those who entered without the blessing of the ancestors would never return. But the king did not care. He threatened and bribed until a small group of us, including myself, had no choice but to follow him. As we entered the forest, a deep silence fell over us. The birds stopped singing, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. The trees grew thicker, their branches twisting like the arms of lost souls. The deeper we went, the more uneasy I felt, but the king only became more determined. After what felt like hours, we reached a clearing. In the center was an old, crumbling shrine, half buried in the earth. Around it were piles of bones, scattered as if something had feasted upon them. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of decay. But the king, blinded by greed, ignored the warnings. He ordered us to dig. As we did, the ground began to shake. The earth beneath us groaned like something alive, something angry. Suddenly, a terrible sound erupted, a deep, guttural roar that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere all at once. The ground split open, and from the depths of the earth, a dark mist poured out, wrapping itself around the king. He screamed, a sound so full of terror it made my blood run cold. His body began to wither, his skin turning gray and cracked, like old parchment. The riches he so desired poured from his mouth, but they were no longer gold. They were ashes, turning to dust before they even touched the ground. The king's scream grew weaker until it was nothing more than a whisper, and then silence. The mist swallowed him whole, leaving nothing behind. The forest fell quiet once more. The mist receded, and the earth closed up as if it had never been disturbed. We stood there, frozen in place, too terrified to move. Then, one by one, we ran, never looking back. When we returned to the village, we told the elders what had happened. They nodded solemnly, as if they had expected this. The king's greed had angered the spirits, and they had taken him as punishment. From that day on, we never spoke of King Akoto again. The palace was left to crumble, and the village returned to its simple, humble ways. But the memory of that night stayed with me. It serves as a warning, a reminder that greed leads only to destruction. King Akoto's lust for wealth not only cost him his life but nearly brought ruin to us all. In the end, he got what he deserved, and we learned that some things are more valuable than gold. The moral lesson of the story is that greed blinds us to the dangers around us and can lead to our downfall. It's important to be content with what we have, for the pursuit of more can sometimes come at a cost we're not prepared to pay. Like and subscribe for more.